Students, in today's class, we start with the application analysis, which consists of application interaction model, class model, state model, and adding the operations. In the previous classes, we have learned the domain model, which deals with the capturing the static structure of any problem statement. The domain model is very much important in capturing the static nature, and operations are not that much important in the domain analysis, because we are not explaining the interaction between the classes, just we are capturing the association between them. That is we are focusing on building the model of intrinsic concepts. Like if we take the example of a ATM system construction, we are capturing the concepts like customer, the account, who is associated with whom. The focus on the details of the applications and the interactions are considered during the application analysis. Here the interaction model is very much important because the dynamic nature of the application is explained in the application analysis. The interaction model begins with determining the boundary of the system. The boundary of the system gives us a restriction saying that which all functionalities fall inside our system and which are omitted. If we refer the previous videos in which I have explained in drawing the use case model of a vending machine, there we had a system boundary. We had a system boundary here and explained what all things fall inside the system and what is outside. So whatever thing we include in our boundary should be given as a functionality out of that particular system. Which are omitted will not be included. Example, vending machine is replacing a shopkeeper who will sit and sell the beverages. Instead of taking the help of a shopkeeper, they have developed a vending machine. By inserting a coin, you can take the items that are present in the vending machine. So we had included the functionalities like buying and maintenance of that particular system, and if any time the repair is required, and the next was loading the item. The same are actually present in the real world also, because when you go to the shop, you can purchase the beverages. Similarly, the shopkeeper will buy the item whenever they are over. But in the shop, we have one more functionality that I can exchange the item, but whereas in the vending machine, it comes outside the boundary. Exchanging of the item is not present inside the boundary. So determining the overall boundary of the system is very much important. For that one, we are finding out the use cases. So we are finding out the use cases which will mainly concentrate on the functionalities provided by the system. Next, each of the use case are explained with the sequence diagram or the scenarios. Example, when I say buy the beverage, I can explain you with a scenario or sequence of actions like you should insert the coin first, select the item, take out the change, then take the item. So like that, for each use case, we'll explain the scenario or the sequence diagram. Next is, if any of the action or the activity is bit complex, we will explain that one using the activity diagram. For example, if exchange of the money is complex, I feel, then I'll just say return money as one of the scenario, but I'll explain it using the activity diagram. Once the use cases are understood, that is functionalities are fixed, we should organize them with a relationship, that is which use case is performed by which actor in that particular system. Next is, we should check against the domain class which we have analyzed and built it. We should cross verify against the domain model for the inconsistencies. So we'll start with the construction of the application interaction model. The different steps in constructing the application interaction model are: the first one is determine the system boundary, find out the actors who are using your system. Next is find the use cases, that is the functionalities performed by these actors. Next is initial and final event, that is who initiates the interaction and which event will end it. Example, the interaction between an ATM and the customer, the initiation is by the customer by inserting the card, and the final event is by the ATM which dispenses the cash and the card out. Next is we should prepare the normal scenarios. So in the preparation of the normal scenarios, we are excluding the errors that can be happened. The normal scenario, I'll just say the system is working as expected, no problem is arising. So I say the customer inserts the card properly, enters his PIN correctly, enters the cash in the denomination properly, and collects the card and cash. So this is a normal scenario, but we should think about the variations and the exception also. That is, all the users are not entering the card properly. Many a time we may insert it in a reverse manner, so you should take care of that variation also. Similarly, I should take care of a person who is entering the PIN wrongly. So those comes under the variations and the exception scenarios. Next, we should find out the external events that are triggering the change between the states. That is, external events can be typing your PIN, insertion of a card, which is external to the system. Next is you should prepare the activity diagram if any of the use case is complex. Example, I can just write the authentication as a use case, but how the authentication is performed can be explained with the activity diagram by comparing the username and the password. So I can explain it using the activity diagram if it is complex. Next is, once the actors are decided, the use cases are decided, we should organize them. That is, we should connect the actors and the use cases. The last one is we should check against the domain class for any inconsistency. So let us go to the first step, that is determining the system boundary. So when we decide the system boundary, it explains us the scope of an application. It explains us the precise scope of an application, the boundary of the system in order to specify the functionalities. Just now we have seen, we are explaining the functionalities that will fall into the system that are provided by our system. We should decide what system includes, what system omits. So here we have decided in the system I can include loading the items and buying the beverage, and it repairs will be inside the boundary, whereas exchange of the item is outside. So we should tell which all functionalities are omitted and which functionalities are included. Next is the system boundary should be correctly defined and drawn so the system can be treated as a black box. If this particular boundary is very much clear, then the system as a whole will be worked as a black box. That is, we need not worry about what is happening internally, and the changes will be very easy. For the external user, the whole system is not look like the combination of four things, it just looks as one object. The whole system can be treated as a single object whose internal details are hidden and changeable. If you think of an ATM system, before the demonetization also it was working in the same manner, and after also it is working in the same manner. We have not seen the change of whole ATM machine. They have changed internal things for reading the different notes that are printed, and they have excluded identification of the notes which are not authenticated in today's era. So like that, the system, if it is taken as a black box wherein the internal things are very much decided and no need of worrying about the external aspects, in that system the whole system is worked as a black box whose internal details are hidden from the user and are also changeable. They have changed the internal structure of the ATM machine to read the new notes, but for the external user, for me, it is not changed, it's working. That's why the identification of the system boundary is very much important, which is the first step. Determine the purpose of the system and view that it presents to the actor. So system boundary determines the why we are developing this system, and it presents us how this particular system is viewed by the actors. The next important thing is, whenever we are deciding the boundaries and the functionality of the system, the human should not be considered as the part of the system unless they are the part of the system, as in any of the organizations or the government offices. Otherwise, human being should not be treated as a part of the system, because the human's behavior is unpredictable. They are better can be modeled as the actors who will interact with the system, not the part of the system. Example is, when we looked at the problem statement of the ATM machine, in the previous classes we have learned, we had a problem statement which states that design the software to support the computerized banking network, including both the human cashier and the ATM. So this is very much precise and explaining us they want a software which can be used by the cashier as well as for the ATM. Means it is telling that it is handling both the human and the machine. In such cases, the whatever thing happens at the cashier station and at the ATM station should be very much seamless. That is, the cashier transactions and the ATM transactions must be seamless. For a customer, whenever he performs an activity when directly coming to the bank or doing the activity at the ATM, should result in the same manner without affecting much in the banking account. For the customer perspective, both the methods, whether he goes to the bank or whether he accesses through the ATM machine, the same effect should be on the bank. That is, if I have filled a deposit slip of 100 rupees or withdrawal slip of 1000 rupees, the same, it should yield a same result as I do in the ATM machine after withdrawing the 1000 rupees. At the same time, here also the yield should be same in the bank account statement, and if I am accessing it through the ATM also, it should yield the same result on my bank. But if you just look at for the outside customer, both the things that are happening at the cashier transaction, that is, he is going manual to the bank and to the ATM machine, both are same, but internal representation or the application are very much different when I am thinking about the interaction here, because the same things, that is withdrawal, deposit, balance inquiry, both the things can happen at the cash station or at the ATM, but the difference here is in the ATM it spans across the bank. That is, one bank's ATM can be used in one bank's ATM card can be used in another bank, but whereas if you go into the bank personally, you cannot withdraw other bank's money in the another bank, right? So implementation will be different, but for the user it looks like same. Underlining the domain model is same as application model differ. The underlining domain model is same. Here also I am explaining the customer interaction with the bank account only. Here also the customer account with the bank. But whereas the application model differs, because here it spans across different, because you are allowed to use any card of any bank in any of the ATMs, but the same will not happen when you personally go to the bank. That is, you cannot withdraw HDFC Bank's account from the SBI's bank, right? So underlying domain is same, whereas the application model is differs. They have their own distinct application model. This has its own application model, and whereas the cashier has its own application model.